Lesson number 5, false teaching created the moral relativism and chaos we live in. We live in a world where everyone says, you live your truth. There's no such thing as absolute right and wrong. You do what's best for you. I'll do what's best for me. And it has unleashed chaos in our society. It has unleashed chaos in our world, in our culture, and in our nation. It is a false teaching that has bubbled up over the last couple hundred years that says everything is relative and morals are just invented. This is the chaos we live in. Number 6, false teaching binds millions of people all over the world to false religions. I remember a couple years ago being in a country where I was watching a ceremony where people were burning their dead, which happens in many places in the world, but in this particular ceremony, they would burn the dead, take the ashes of the dead, and they would pour it into a river. And then part of that ceremony is that people would go down to that river and they would drink from the very river they just poured human remains into. And they would do so because they believed that would bring healing and the forgiveness of their sins. And I stood there filled with grief watching this, recognizing that no one was compelling or coercing them to do it. They were doing it voluntarily because they had bought into and believed a false teaching about the nature of forgiveness, healing, and who God is. It is false teaching that binds. And finally, false teaching leads millions to wander from the clear teachings of Jesus. I've seen false teaching about marriage wreck marriages and harm both women and men. I've seen false teaching about parenting hurt children and their children's children and destroy families that were once close together. I've seen once thriving churches brought low because of false teaching about the nature of Jesus or the nature of the world or the nature of sin or the Holy Spirit. See, the reason false teaching is such a big deal is not that we're all supposed to know a bunch of theological facts and agree on everything. The reason false teaching is such a big deal is because false teaching destroys people. It harms people. It hurts those you love the most. When you begin to believe something that is false, when you begin to believe something that is wicked and untrue and goes against the heart of God, it damages you and everyone else you love around you. See, false teaching destroys people because ideas have consequences. And an idea, once it gets into your mind, will start to change you and shape you and determine your spiritual health and condition.